Hey guys, tonight we're going on a journey to a world of silent forests and distant mountains, to a land where a single sword could decide a family's fate. Close your eyes if you feel safe enough to do so, and imagine yourself walking barefoot on a cool earthen floor. The smell of tatami mats and old wood fills the air, and the distant, rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer is the only sound that punctures the quiet morning. This is the world of the samurai, and it's a world you probably wouldn't survive for more than a few days, let alone a few years. It was a life of discipline, of rigid honor, and of an ever-present, simmering tension. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a young boy in 16th century Japan. Your family has served the local daimyo, or feudal lord, for generations. Your path is not a choice, but a duty. You are to become a samurai, a warrior. Your days are not your own. They are a careful dance of training, of ritual, of a life meticulously structured around the concept of Bushido, the way of the warrior. You learn to wield the katana, the long sword, not just as a weapon, but as an extension of your very being. You learn to strike with speed and precision, but more importantly, you learn to wait. You learn patience. You learn the virtue of stillness, even in the midst of chaos. A skill you'll find is much more useful than you might first think. Your life is a paradox. You are trained to kill, to defend your lord, and to be ready to die at a moment's notice, all while being taught to appreciate the beauty of a single cherry blossom petal floating on a stream. The discipline is all-consuming. You wake before the sun, practice your forms until your muscles ache, and then you study. You read poetry. You learn calligraphy. You learn the intricate steps of the tea ceremony, where every single movement is steeped in meaning and mindfulness. This is the life of a samurai. It isn't all duels and dramatic battles, you see. It's a lot of waiting, a lot of quiet, focused attention. You are a walking contradiction, a man of immense violence and a man of immense calm. Historians still debate whether this code of Bushido was as widely followed in practice as it was in theory. Some argue it was more of an ideal, a romanticized notion, rather than a strict, daily reality. But for you, it is your reality. You are constantly aware of your position, your honor, and the weight of your family name. You know the story of the samurai who was forced to commit seppuku, ritual suicide, for a minor offense. You know that to fail your lord, to show cowardice, or to act without honor is not just a personal failing, but a stain upon your entire family line. It's a lot of pressure, and you feel it every day, from the moment you wake until the moment you finally lay down your head to rest. But a question begins to gnaw at the edges of your mind. Is this all there is? Is this cycle of honor, duty, and potential violence the only path for you? You've seen friends fall in battle, their lives extinguished in a single, careless moment. You've seen the look in the eyes of the peasants whose farms you protect. They are grateful, yes, but they are also afraid. The very system that gives you your purpose is one built on a foundation of control and conflict. You find yourself spending more time than you should when you are meant to be polishing your armor, simply watching a spider patiently spin its web in the corner of the training hall. You see a kind of quiet persistence there, a peaceful dedication that you feel is missing from your own frantic existence. It's a small, insignificant observation, but it is the first crack in the rigid armor of your duty. That small crack in your resolve, you find, begins to widen. You're on patrol, the cherry blossoms of spring a delicate mist against the gray stones of the castle wall. But your mind drifts not to thoughts of potential ambush or the honor of your daimyo, but to a different kind of life you've heard whispers about. A life of quiet contemplation. You have a vague understanding of Zen Buddhism, a kind of faith that was becoming increasingly popular among the samurai class. It's a bit like a secret club for people who are very good at waiting. You've been taught that true power lies in the ability to control your mind, to find stillness in the storm. Your teachers have told you this is the path to becoming a better warrior, but you find yourself wondering if it could be the path to becoming something else entirely. You hear about monks living in remote monasteries, far from the constant political maneuvering and threat of war. They spend their days in silent meditation, raking meticulous patterns in sand gardens, and studying the paradoxical riddles known as koans. A koan is a bit like a mental puzzle designed to break your brain in a good way. Like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? You're a man trained to value a clear answer, a precise strike. The very idea of a riddle with no logical solution is both frustrating and, you have to admit, deeply intriguing. You find yourself pondering these questions at night, long after you've sharpened your sword and settled into your futon. You're starting to suspect the most dangerous enemy is not a rival samurai, but the constant, chattering noise inside your own head. One evening, you are at a local tea house, a small, unassuming place where you can be a man and not just a samurai. You notice an old monk, his robes faded, and his face lined with what looks like peace, not worry. He is silently sipping his tea, his eyes closed. You are struck by the sheer lack of tension in his posture. He's not scanning the room for threats. He's not clenching his jaw. He's just being. This is a stark contrast to your own constant state of readiness. You feel a strange sense of longing, a desire for that kind of effortless calm. You approach him, your voice low so as not to disturb the others. You ask him about his life, about Zen. He doesn't give you a lecture or a sermon. He simply asks you a question in return. What is your purpose? And he waits. He doesn't press you for an answer. The silence is profound. You find you have no immediate answer, only a collection of expectations and duties that feel increasingly hollow. This moment becomes a turning point. You realize that your entire life has been defined by what you do, what you are expected to be. You've never really been given the space to simply exist. Historians still argue about the extent to which samurai actually embraced Zen, with some scholars suggesting it was a pragmatic choice to prepare for death, while others see it as a genuine spiritual awakening. For you, it feels less like a choice and more like an inevitability. The clatter of your armor, the weight of your sword, the constant vigilance, it all starts to feel like a cage. A gilded cage, perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. You begin to understand that the path to true strength, to true peace, might not lie in the sword you carry, but in the one you choose to lay down. You start spending your free time at a local Zen temple, not as a samurai, but as a student. You sit with the other monks, your mind a whirlwind of old habits and new ideas. Your legs fall asleep and your mind races, but for the first time in your life, you feel a faint, glimmering sense of hope. You feel like you're on the verge of a new kind of battle, one fought not with steel, but with patience. The decision is a quiet one, a gentle shift in the wind, but its consequences are as profound as any battlefield victory. One day, you simply do not pick up your sword. The polished katana, a symbol of your entire life's purpose, lies in its scabbard. It's a heavy thing, but you find that the weight of it, the constant presence of its potential for violence, has been far heavier on your spirit. You make your way to your daimyo, your lord, and you kneel. You don't ask for permission. You state your intention with a calm certainty that surprises even you. You will no longer serve as a samurai. You will become a monk. The air is so thick with unspoken meaning, you could almost cut it with one of your old blades. Your daimyo is not pleased, to put it mildly. To leave his service, to abandon your duty, is seen as an act of immense dishonor. It is a social death. You are told you will lose your status, your family will be shamed, and you will be cast out. You listen to his angry words, but you find that they do not sting as they once would have. You are no longer that boy, so afraid of what others think. You have found a different kind of honor, a quiet one, and you have chosen it. You walk away from your old life with only the clothes on your back and the deep, silent understanding that you are now an outcast. You exchange your fine silk robes and armor for a simple, coarse cotton one. You shave your head, a final, symbolic act of severing ties with your past. It's a very strange feeling, this sudden lightness. You no longer have a position to defend, a reputation to uphold, or a lord to protect. The only thing you are now responsible for is your own mind. It's both terrifying and deeply liberating. You trudge down the dusty roads, your feet, once clad in fine sandals and boots, now feel the rough earth beneath them for the first time in years. You find that your body, so conditioned for battle, doesn't quite know how to just walk. You're still tensed, still ready for a threat that is no longer there. It will take time for your muscles to unlearn their old habits, for your posture to soften. You remember an old legend you once heard about the very first samurai, who was said to have been so skilled he could cut a falling feather in half without it so much as trembling. Now, you find your hands tremble from the sheer effort of trying to be still. It's an oddly humorous thought, a quiet joke you tell to yourself as you continue your journey. Historians still argue about the frequency with which samurai gave up their status to become monks. Some scholars believe it was a more common practice than we think, especially during times of peace, while others suggest it was an extremely rare and socially devastating decision. For you, it feels like the only decision you could have ever made. You carry your former life with you, not as a burden, but as a shadow. You catch your reflection in a still pond, and for a moment, you see the rigid, intense face of the samurai you once were. Then the water ripples, and the image is gone. You are just a man now, a wanderer on a path with no clear destination and a profound sense of peace. Your new life is defined by its simplicity. You own nothing but your robes, a begging bowl, and the memories you're slowly learning to let go of. You walk for miles each day, your senses open in a way they never were before. You notice the rustle of leaves in the wind, the scent of pine needles after a rain shower, the way the light filters through the canopy of a forest. As a samurai, you were trained to observe the world for threats. Now, you observe it just to appreciate it. You are, in a sense, a professional noticer. The rhythmic creak of a distant water wheel is no longer just a background noise. It is the soundtrack to your journey. You learn to listen to the world rather than just waiting for it to be silent. You stop in small villages, your begging bowl extended. The people are wary at first. A former samurai? They have heard stories of such men. But you do not carry a sword. You do not demand respect. You simply wait, your head bowed. You accept whatever they offer, whether it's a handful of rice, a piece of dried fish, or sometimes nothing at all. You learn to be grateful for the smallest of gifts, a lesson that would have been completely alien to your former self. You no longer worry about a full stomach. You worry about a peaceful mind. You spend your nights sleeping in the open, under the watchful gaze of the moon and stars. You've gone from sleeping in a warm, comfortable room to sleeping on the hard ground, and you've never felt more at ease. This isn't to say that your journey is without its challenges. There are days when the old anger flares up, when the ghost of your past life whispers in your ear. You remember the adrenaline of battle, the rush of a clean strike, the respect you commanded, and you feel a pang of nostalgia, a yearning for that old identity. But you've been practicing. You've been learning to simply observe these feelings, like a cloud passing in the sky. You don't engage with them. You don't try to fight them. You just let them be, and eventually, they drift away. You realize that the most difficult battles are the ones fought within yourself, and that true strength isn't about defeating an enemy, but about accepting yourself. This is the very essence of Zen practice. You also encounter other wanderers, other souls on their own strange journeys. You meet a former merchant who lost everything in a bad deal and is now seeking enlightenment. You meet a young woman who was once a celebrated courtesan, now looking for a different kind of beauty in the world. You share stories, you share a meal, and you continue on your way. You learn that everyone, no matter their past, is carrying a similar weight. Historians still debate the specific reasons why individuals chose to become wandering monks during this period. Was it purely for spiritual reasons, or were there social and economic pressures at play? It's likely a mix of both. For you, the reason is simple. You were seeking stillness in a world that demanded constant motion. A quirky tidbit you learn from an old man in a remote village is that they believe the gods of the mountains are not pleased with the sound of a metal sword. You find yourself smiling at the thought, a gentle, genuine smile that you don't think you ever wore as a samurai. It's a quiet life, this new life of yours, but for the first time, it feels like it is truly your own. The wandering eventually comes to an end. You've been traveling for what feels like a lifetime, though it has only been a few years. You find yourself drawn to a remote mountain, to a small Zen temple perched on a cliffside, almost hidden by the ancient trees. The air here is thin and clean, and the only sound is the gentle murmur of a nearby stream. It is a place of profound peace, a place where the world feels very far away. You approach the temple, your legs weary from the journey, but your heart feeling strangely light. You are no longer just a traveler. You are a pilgrim who has found his destination. You are welcomed not with suspicion, but with a quiet nod by the abbot, an old man whose eyes seem to hold the wisdom of 1,000 years. He doesn't ask about your past, your reasons for being there. He simply gives you a small straw broom and points to the path leading to the temple garden. Your new duties are simple, and they feel, in a way, far more significant than the ones you once held. Your days now fall into a gentle, predictable rhythm. You wake before the sun, when the world is still cloaked in a soft, bluish light. Your first task is to sweep the temple grounds. You take the straw broom and begin, moving with a slow, deliberate pace. You are not just cleaning a path. You are cleansing your mind. Every sweep of the broom is an act of mindfulness. You notice the way the light catches the dust motes, the way the tiny pebbles scatter, the feeling of the rough straw in your hands. This is your training now. No more sparring, no more drills. Just the quiet, focused attention on a simple task. You might find yourself, in a moment of boredom, trying to remember the complex sword forms you once knew. But you find that the muscle memory is fading, and you are okay with that. The only form you need to master now is the form of your own life. You spend a part of your day tending to the monastery's vegetable garden. You plant seeds, water the sprouts, and pull weeds from the soft earth. You find a surprising joy in this work. You are no longer taking a life, but nurturing one. A quirky tidbit you learn from one of the other monks is that they believe the flavor of the vegetables is directly tied to the peacefulness of the gardener's mind. You find yourself smiling at this thought as you carefully pluck a plump radish from the soil. It's a sweet kind of humor, a gentle way of understanding the world. Historians still debate the specific types of tasks and duties performed by Zen monks in these remote temples. Were they all a form of meditative practice, or were some simply mundane chores? It's likely a mix of both, but you find that any task, if done with a quiet mind, can be a form of meditation. You remember how you used to clean your katana, how you would polish the steel to a mirror sheen. You realize now that you weren't just cleaning a weapon. You were, in a way, preparing for your own death. Now, you're just preparing a meal, and it tastes so much better. The evenings are spent in silent meditation with the other monks. You sit in a zendo, a meditation hall, your legs crossed, your back straight. It is a very different kind of discipline than the one you once knew. You are not training to kill. You are training to be still. Your mind, at first, is a battlefield of thoughts. But with practice, with patience, the chaos begins to subside. You are not trying to stop thinking. You are simply learning to watch the thoughts, to see them for what they are. Fleeting, ephemeral things, like clouds passing in a sky. And you are the sky. With each passing day, with each sweep of the broom and each quiet hour in the zendo, you find yourself shedding the last vestiges of your old life. The memory of your sword, once so sharp and present, is now a distant echo. The rustle of the wind in the bamboo forest begins to replace the imagined clash of steel. You have truly found a new kind of discipline, one that is not about mastering an external force, but about mastering your own inner world. You are learning to sit with the silence, to find a profound comfort in the lack of noise, both outside and within. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are simply being. This, you realize, is a much more difficult and rewarding battle than any you ever fought on a field. You begin to find your own unique form of expression, a kind of peaceful art that is born from this stillness. You don't take up the sword, of course, but you do take up a calligraphy brush. Your hand, once so steady in its grip on a weapon, now moves with a delicate precision, tracing the elegant lines of a single character. You are not trying to create something beautiful, but simply to capture the essence of a moment. A line, a curve, a splash of ink. It is a form of meditation in itself. You find that the patience you once cultivated for the perfect strike is now being used to wait for the ink to dry, to appreciate the imperfect beauty of a single, slightly wobbly stroke. It's a humorous thought, a gentle joke you keep to yourself, that you have traded the art of killing for the art of wobbly lines. You also find yourself becoming a teacher in a quiet, unassuming way. Young acolytes at the temple approach you, drawn to the deep, silent peace they see radiating from you. They ask you about your past, about your journey from samurai to monk. You don't offer them a grand tale of heroism or a dramatic conversion story. You simply tell them about the weight of the sword and the lightness of letting it go. You tell them about the difference between being strong and being at peace. You remind them that true strength is not about what you can do to others, but about what you can do for yourself. You see in their young, earnest faces the same kind of burning ambition and restlessness that you once had, and you try to guide them not toward a goal, but toward a path of simply walking. Historians still argue about the specific role of former samurai in these Zen monasteries. Were they revered for their unique perspective, or were they seen with suspicion? It's a complex question, and the answer likely depends on the individual and the time. For you, it feels like a purpose. You are a bridge between two worlds, a gentle guide for those who are still caught in the storm. You find joy in the smallest of details. The way the sunlight dances on the surface of the stream, the particular scent of the pine needles after a heavy rain, the sound of the wind chimes outside your small room. These are the treasures of your new life. You've gone from a world of great, dramatic events to a world of small, profound moments. You've traded a life of grand gestures for a life of gentle stillness. And you have never, ever felt so alive. Your life has become a quiet testament to the idea that peace is not something you find, but something you cultivate. Years pass, and your face, once so taut with the stresses of a warrior's life, softens into a landscape of gentle wrinkles. You are a man of the mountain now, a part of the rustling trees and the flowing stream. The young acolytes who once saw a legendary figure now see only a kind old monk, whose hands, once so skilled with a sword, are now most at home, holding a steaming bowl of rice or a calligraphy brush. Your purpose is no longer to defend a lord or to uphold a code, but simply to exist, to be a small, quiet part of the vast and beautiful world. You are sitting in the zendo one afternoon, the sun a gentle warmth on your skin. You are not thinking of anything. You are just feeling the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated stillness. The memory of your first master, a stern man with a sharp tongue and a sharper sword, comes to you. You remember his words, how he told you that a samurai must be as still as a mountain and as swift as the wind. You smile to yourself, a soft, private smile. You have mastered the stillness. The wind, it seems, no longer needs you to be swift. You have found a deeper kind of mastery. A quirky tidbit you often share with the younger monks is how you used to be able to tell the difference between a high-quality steel blade and a lesser one just by the sound it made when you drew it from its scabbard. Now you tell them, you can tell the quality of your tea by the quiet way the steam rises from the cup. It's a joke they don't always get, but you find it deeply amusing. Historians still debate the specific final years and legacies of many of these wandering monks, and whether their peaceful lives were a form of escape or a genuine spiritual journey. For you, the answer is simple. It was the only way to truly live. As you sit there, you feel a gentle fading of your own senses. The sounds of the forest seem to be growing more distant, the warmth of the sun a little fainter. You are not afraid. You are at peace. Your journey, it seems, has brought you exactly where you needed to be. You have found your final destination, not in a physical place, but in a state of being. You close your eyes and you feel the weight of your own life, not as a burden, but as a long, peaceful exhalation. The sword is gone. The armor is gone. The titles and the duties are gone. All that is left is the sound of your own quiet breathing. The light in the zendo begins to fade, a soft, gentle dimming, like the last embers of a campfire. Your breath becomes a whisper, a soft, almost imperceptible thing. You feel the coolness of the air on your skin, the subtle vibration of the wooden floor beneath you. There is no urgency, no tension, just a deep, abiding calm. The distant stream whispers its final lullaby, a soft, flowing sound that carries you on its current. The moon rises, a pale silver disk above the mountain, and it casts a gentle, muted light into the room, illuminating nothing but the silent, empty space you once occupied. The journey is over, the story is complete, and you are, at long last, truly, completely, and utterly at peace.